Hey Guru Nation, welcome to another episode of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. My name is Dan Sfer. I've got Roberta Perella on. She's a line manager. I've never done this before, Roberta. Thank you so much. A line manager from a major CRO. I've had senior CRAs. I've had regular CRAs. I've never had a line manager. And your husband was in my CRA academy, and
Yeah.
he told me about this. I like during our interview, I didn't even know he was a student, and I said, "Okay, wow, I would love to interview her." So thank you so much for coming on. I know things have been crazy during
Yeah.
coronavirus.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me today. I am excited to be here and talk to you, and hopefully I can contribute to your audience, and then just answer any questions that you may have about my role as a line manager. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you. And so you're gonna help so many people out. So I will have a link to Roberta's LinkedIn on the video as well as in the podcast show notes. So go check it out. It's the first link will be Roberta's LinkedIn. A very good person to network with and get connected with. So Roberta, I guess I start with you just like everyone else. Like how did you get started in research? Because it's like most people get started on accident. So how did you get started in research?
Okay. Yeah. So, well, that was a long time ago. I was still in graduation. I'm a pharmacist. I was in the pharmacy school. And then at the university, I was doing academic research. I was supporting some postgraduate students in a clinical immunology lab, and I was happy there. I was doing, my lab experiments, and then, well, I noticed that with my colleagues at the university, that was a trend, and most of them they were accepting job offers for in pharmaceutical industries, and that they were working on clinical research. Honestly, I never heard about it before that, so I became really interested in what they were doing. So after working on academic research, after working for I don't, maybe 2 years, it's been a long time. Maybe the dates are not that accurate, but
Okay.
yeah, and then I applied for a trainee role in a major pharmaceutical company, and then I was accepted. And then I started to work as I was like an intern there. I was still in graduation, and I was responsible for some of their phase four studies, and I was working with some CRAs. That's when I started to gain some experience, and then I had the opportunity to get to know the industry better and learn what clinical trials are and what are the benefits. So that's when it all started. I think it was 2002, perhaps. Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
2002. Or yeah. So yeah,
Wow. Interesting.
yeah,
And then, so
yeah.
what was your first role within the industry?
Um, So after, you mean in the clinical research
Yeah.
industry? Yeah, after this role, after this job at this as an intern. So that was interesting because I worked at this company for a year, and I had a lot of good experiences there, lots of nice exposure to a lot of processes. And the good thing when you work for the pharmaceutical companies is that you get to follow up on the product life. So you are studying in the clinical research, and then there is the launch of the products, and then you go to the meetings with the sales force. You get to know some doctors. So it was a really nice experience there. But then, well, I had plans to stay working for this company, but then I got a call, and that was a headhunter, and they offered me a position in another industry. It was still a pharmaceutical company, but it was a different scope. And actually, they were looking for someone with a clinical research background, but they wanted someone to work in their marketing department because they were implementing a sort of database. And this database and the whole implementation required, it had some clinical research components. Like you need to know a little bit about it because you would be interacting with some doctors, you would be collecting surveillance data of one of the products that they have there. So they wanted someone with this kind of background. That's when, but I would work in the marketing department. So it was totally out of clinical research, like just that. And I accepted that because, I was, I was learning, I was open to that, and then I decided, hey, I think I should do it, because it's an opportunity. I'll learn. So it's not clinical research itself, but let's see how it goes. And that was very nice because I was working in the marketing department. I was working with some doctors to collect some data for this epidemiological database. And I think that was very important to my career then. And because I think you related to that, because I think I could learn some skills that were so important later in my career as a CRA, because I started after this job, I started as a CRA. Can anticipate that, but I had the chance to work with the marketing folks. I could go. I had my relationship with the doctors that were physicians that were working with me in this database, but then I could interact with people from the marketing sales force. I
Wow.
could go with them and visit the clinics with the doctors. And I had a mentor that in the office, and this guy was the head of the business unit that I was working for. And I could stay like longer hours in my day, and he could teach me like marketing lessons, like how to treat customers, how to develop relationships, those kinds of things that when you're a CRA, you really need to get on well with people. You have to influence them. You have to be,
Yeah.
you need empathy. So it's just to build that collaborations, and I think that marketing, that job specifically, gave me a good foundation for taking on a CRA career later on. So that's how I started to build my career. Well, and after 3 years working with that, I was totally in my comfort zone, and I kind of missed a little bit the clinical research environment. And then I decided that it was time to move on and look for an opportunity, to get back to this to clinical research. And then I applied to the same employer that I am today. I've been working for this company for since 2006. It's been a while.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started there. So I applied for a CRA role. It's a CRO, and it was growing. So they were they were expanding their workforce, and then I applied. I got the job, and then I started as a CRA. And yeah, that was very good. I mean, it's a career that I love.
Yeah, so you're basically a generalist because now you're a line manager. So you've done everything. You have the pharmacy background,
Yeah.
you have the marketing background too, which
Yeah.
is so rare. So you learn all these sales things, which we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about because with CRA in the CRA job market, pre-coronavirus, and I think, and I'm gonna get your thoughts on this, after coronavirus, when things get back to normal in the
Uh-huh.
summer, you know. Like I think CRAs are still in huge demand and not enough supply, right? Am I wrong or am I right in this?
Currently, I think we have a lot of studies, I think we have a lot going on. I think, yes, we're going to need CRAs for sure. Yeah, I think we are going to have a huge demand for CRAs after this,
Right.
whole coronavirus situation is gone.
And even during coronavirus, I mean, I'm hearing, like, I know because I'm a contract CRA, I do on the side contract CRA a little bit, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting offered like every day something else, like, hey, are you interested in this job? Usually I'm not, so I send it to the students, but from the CRA Academy. But I mean, I'm seeing these things, so I'm thinking, okay, everybody's still interviewing. I mean, the whole economy is shut down, but then there's
Yeah.
new studies which we can talk about, and they're interviewing, and I know three people that have just gotten hired like this
Yes.
week. So
Yeah.
it's unbelievable what's going on. The shortage is still there for series.
Yeah, I think so. I think we have a lot of, I think this is for the entire industry. We may have a lot of feasibilities going on, a lot of startup going on, and they will need to fulfill that. They will need CRAs, for these site initiation visits, interim monitoring visits. So, and also I assume that everybody's planning at this point, right?
Yes.
So I think our business it's really fast paced. I truly believe that we continue to be like it always has been. And everybody is prepping. I mean, there are so many, I assume that there are so many protocol modifications just to adjust to this new reality. And then, I think the demand will go on. I mean, we still need it. We need to adapt to what is going on right now, and then adapt later in summer when the virus is gone for good. So I think we can in this industry. I think there is a lot of flexibility. I think we can adapt to the reality and continue to hire CRAs because we need to prep for what's coming. And I assume that a lot of the folks in the industry, they will have to catch up on everything, right? We need
Yeah.
to, speed it up just to make sure that we can deliver faster and then we can, reach the study goals and just mitigations, right? So I think it's, yeah, I mean, it has always been fast paced. I think nothing stops us, right?
It shouldn't because it's medicine, it's treatments,
Yeah.
I mean, this is health. This is people's health care. And matter of fact, clinical
Yeah.
research now is in the national mainstream headlines with the
Yes.
coronavirus, right? So even
Yeah.
more awareness now is like I'm getting way more people now interested in CRA Academy because of
Yeah.
what's going on in
Nice.
coronavirus. I mean, it's like, hey, what is this? How can I be involved? I'm a pharmacist. I have people, pharmacists from other countries say, hey, what can I do here in the United States? Well, there's this thing called clinical research. You can be CRA. You can
Yeah.
do all kinds of things. So here's my theory of what's happening right now. And for
Mm-hmm.
anyone watching in the future, you can ignore this part, but here's my theory. So right now we're in end of March, and all the studies that were being planned for March, April, May are being postponed until June, July, August. And then all the studies that were being planned for June, July, and August, anyways, are going to continue being planned for June, July, and August. So we're going to have an incredibly busy summer.
Yes.
And that's
I
that's
think
my
so.
theory.
No, yeah, and I totally support you. I think this is exactly what's going to happen.
You see, guys, there's another person. The same thing as okay, so this is very bullish news. I'm actually bullish on the economy as well. So let's talk a little bit about because are you so as a line manager, can you explain what a line manager actually is? Because many people don't know what that means.
Yeah, sure. Usually, you are a line manager. It's a people manager. So we are responsible for the workforce. We hire, we evaluate performance, we assign studies. You provide feedback, so you work with the team to provide, for process improvements. So actually, in my role as a CRA line manager right now, I am responsible to take care of my team, making sure that uh, they are well equipped to do their jobs, that they have the necessary training, they have the motivation. We also mentor them throughout the process. We know what their career aspirations are, and then we help them get there. So we really take care of people. We need to make sure that they have studies and they have motivation, they're happy, they know what they have to do, and that they are delivering in the end of the day. So pretty much this is what I do. I'm a people manager, pretty much.
People manager, and most of these
Yeah,
people are all of these people that you're managing CRAs or is it different roles?
there are different roles. Like line managers in the industry, they can manage lots of roles, different roles. I have managed right now. I am managing CRAs, but I have managed other roles in the past, like startup specialists, contract specialists, so other startup roles because I am specialized inside startup. So right
Okay.
now, so all the different roles that they are stakeholders in the site acquisition process, I have managed them all, and yeah, each role has its own goals,
Hmm.
and we have different objectives for them, and then this is how we work. But right now, I'm just a CRA line manager here in US.
Is a line manager because and this is another thing I tell people who watch and listen is like every company calls something a different name. Like there could be a line manager, it could be lead CRA. Like in your case, are you like a lead CRA or is that a separate role?
It's a separate role, yeah. So it's all about people. I'm not involved in operations. It's just team performance, making sure that my current employer they have the right resources. These resources they can actually perform the job. It's more related to making sure that the resources are right. I mean, the headcount is right. So how many do I need to hire?
Mm.
Uh, Things like that. So overall, the CRA line manager, of course, it's different from across the companies. But if you have a line management on your scope, of work. It means that you are responsible for managing people and that you are responsible for their performance and you're responsible to assess if the team that you have, the headcount that you have is enough to conduct what you have in the pipeline, for example. So you are the ones
Okay,
making
I
that
see.
decisions. Yes.
Interesting. And so
Mm.
you're one of the people in charge of hiring new CRAs?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
what
I do interviews. Yes.
and what do you look for when you're interviewing? Because no one interviews the same, and there's no such thing as identical candidates. I mean, everybody's different. So
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things, because we have a lot of people listening that want to be CRAs,
Mm-hmm.
and so it'd be great to hear from a line manager who's
Mm-hmm.
actually in charge of hiring them.
Uh-huh.
What you're looking for in one of these people.
Okay. Well, this is my personal opinion.
Okay.
Okay. I'm looking for skills. I'm looking for a good skill set. Sometimes people they sell experience, but they don't necessarily they have the skills. I want someone, for example, what I will looking for in a candidate is um, can can the person work as a team player? Can the person manage pressure? Is the person do they have self-awareness? How can they do they make mistakes? And if so, how they learn from their mistakes? So we I usually like to ask some sort of questions just to understand their personalities, what they can deliver from a skill set perspective more than experience. Because I believe that, it's good to have experience.
Yeah.
But without the skills, that person will be a huge disappointment later because I think you know well how fast paced this industry is, and we really need someone who can handle all the pressure, someone who's extremely organized, that can learn fast, that can self-learn, for example, because sometimes we don't have time to train for a new study. You have to do this really quickly. So what are the skills? Can you handle
Hmm.
this? Because all the technical aspects about being a CRA, this is something that a line manager will mentor the person throughout the process. But skills, this is something that is very hard to teach. So it comes with the person. So usually in all the interviews, all the CRA interviews, not only CRAs, but all the roles, I think it's important to, that the CRA can really to really showcase, what they're bringing, how much value they will be adding to a team, to the company, because we have, every company has a lot of trainings, and though you're smart, you can learn, that's okay. So I think that when it comes to skills and how you will behave in certain situations, I think that's, to me, this is really important to assess. So I'm really looking for that. I think that experience is just a component of a candidate, but I really like to investigate a little bit more about personalities and skill sets. So that's me.
Yeah, but that's very important because you are making these decisions many times. If not, so how many interviews are you doing like right now, or like in a typical week? Right now it's not typical, but like in an average month, are you just interviewing based on new studies you have in the pipeline, or are you constantly interviewing about the same amount of people every month?
It all depends. If there is a need for, to expand workforce, and then we will interview based on that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that is constantly happening, but yeah, it's upon demand. So if we need people, and then we'll go for interviews, we're gonna be identify potential candidates for that.
Now, how strict are you guys with therapeutic indication? If they have experience.
We well, I this is something that I'll definitely check. What is the medical or therapeutic experience background that this person is bringing to the role? In my opinion, it's important that you are like generalist. I don't think
Thank
that.
you. You said the same thing I'm talking. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's much better when you have like a pipeline of studies across different indications, because we never know. You never know what you're gonna get, And it's important that you can, have that knowledge, because as we get studies here in US, I came from Brazil. I used to work for the same employer in Brazil, and then I realized how many different studies we have in US and how many opportunities do we have here for CRAs in so many different therapeutic areas. So it's very important to be prepared for everything. I think it's something that adds a lot of value to a CV when you have, knowledge of different indications, so that you can really pick up new studies, new protocols really quickly, depending on what are the demands of your employer. But I know that some companies, they're looking for CRAs with specific experience, right? I see a lot of oncology only CRAs, and well, I think it's it's oncology is really something that is challenging. Not everybody is comfortable about it, and some people, they do struggle about oncology studies, and if they can choose, they would not choose oncology. That's my experience working with so many CRAs, even CRAs that they have a life science background. So even then, even then, they are not, totally comfortable. So I understand the needs of the industry to have, oncology only CRAs, but I think it's just a matter, of studying and really deep diving in oncology. You get there because all the studies is going to be the same. So so I understand the need in the industry, but I still, for if I was a CRA today, I would be preparing myself for every indication. I think this
As
is.
much as any kind,
Oh
like
yeah.
as diverse as possible is what I always tell people. It's like you're saying the same thing, Roberta. I had no idea
I'm
you were gonna say
glad
this.
you're on the same page.
I've been saying generalist for years. I'm so glad you're saying the same thing. I mean, I didn't expect that, from you, but that's it. That's exactly what I've been telling people. Become a
Yeah,
generalist. When you start, you're gonna start as a specialist because everybody starts and is
yeah,
put someplace. But it's your job to expand if you want to diversify your opportunities
yeah,
to become a generalist over
yeah.
time.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a personal choice. If you want to work on oncology only studies, that's totally fine. But depending on your career goals, it's really important that you try to expand, because to me, when I am looking at CRA CVs, this is something that I'm always that I have to consider, because, well, let's suppose I have someone, they have strong knowledge of oncology, but I don't know, I have a study in neurology, I have a vaccine study, for example. How quickly can this person train and be comfortable about, presenting this to investigator in a PSV or site initiation visit? So I think it all, comes down to this: how quickly can you pick up things? So I think it's very dynamic. I am totally in favor of generalists. So, and that includes oncology.
Yeah.
So.
So hypothetically, using your example with let's say you have a CRA that has oncology experience, but you need them for neurology. Um, let's say they were taking a course like on their own through
Hmm.
Harvard Med Online or one of these schools that do like these 10-week courses for neurology, immuno-oncology, whatever it was. Let's say they were doing a course like that. Would that look really good to you as the person in charge of hiring them?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I would definitely, if you're an individual that you're willing to learn on yourself, you're doing some ground research, right? You're gonna uh, learn more about that indication and be ready. That's totally something that it's really valuable. That's why when I was a CRA, that's how I learned. I remember that I wanted to present things or discuss, even because we present information in pre-stat visits and site initiations, but even in monitoring, I, I, I I always wanted to have control of what I was doing. And when I was talking to investigators, I had some questions in source documentation, or when I was presenting and they were asking me questions about a protocol, I always wanted to present and deliver with confidence. So I would study, I would go above and beyond the materials that my employer was given to me just to have that confidence. And I think this is even when you don't have previous experience, I mean, you were assigned to a new study, it's neurology, you've never done that before, that's fine. let's go and find out more about it. Let's be prepared. So I think people can do it. So that's this is how you expand your experience. And as you work with
Yes.
several sites, you work with lots of PIs, you go and read source documents, and then you keep expanding. And this is so important. I think for a CRA, work with the site and have that confidence when discussing things with them. It's going to be, I think it's perfect because it's a really win-win situation for you. Everything will be fine at the site. You will develop that collaborative relationships with them. It will go so smoothly. So it's something that I always valued when I was a CRA, and now working with CRAs is how I want my team to be, like really confident about it because it feels so good, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's so rewarding when you can deliver and be, really proud.
And you
So,
know what I learned recently, because I've been at the site level my whole career. Just
uh-huh.
recently been the contract CRA, and I have this small CRO. We do this oncology study. It's like an investigator initiated study. There's only two
Oh,
sites,
okay.
but me and another guy are the only monitors, and then we have all of our student interns also participate. But one thing so I have no experience with big CROs, but one of my can't remember who, but somebody on LinkedIn, I was doing a live stream or something. I was talking about being a generalist, and I said, if you are already a CRA, you should look for ways to learn other indications than what you're just doing, like in your spare time. And somebody told me in the live stream that they work for a big CRO, and they
Hmm.
said you don't even have to ask. There's just a general training platform, and it has all the trainings for the entire company there. So
Hmm.
if you're in oncology and you want to learn neurology, you can just access the portal. Is this
Yes.
true?
Yeah, that happens. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that the companies overall, they have the resources, to equip their CRAs and making sure that they have all the therapeutic training that they need to go and be successful in the field. So I think it's something that we have to really explore. If you're working for an employer those sorts of that they have those resources available. And if you can, I understand that when you're so busy with your daily activities, you don't have time for that. But anytime, after hours, weekends, this is a good investment for them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right.
again, it all depends on their career goals, right? I think the ones that are, really committed to that, and if they want to really take control of their own careers, because this is what we have to do. They have to take control, not, let anybody else do it or wait on someone else. So this is the way to go. It's hard working, then it's hard working.
Well, after hearing your advice, people are going to go now in their CROs, and all the immunology portals are going to be overflowed with people accessing the documents. This because of coronavirus. I bet you this is what's
Yeah.
happening right now, right?
Yes.
Because they see, okay, the next year, are this all going to be about vaccines? So,
Hmm.
let's learn about this. That wouldn't be a bad idea, guys, if you're trying to be a generalist right
Yeah.
now. Go learn about viruses. Go learn about immunology. I mean, it's only gonna help you right now. So let's say, okay, Roberta, because there's a huge demand for CRAs,
Hmm.
and there's a huge demand, and there's a shortage of experienced CRAs. So you can't be too picky when you have a new study and you just need to fill it, right?
Hmm.
And this
Yeah.
is also why turnover is such a big issue in the industry, is because when one CRO gets like some new studies, they'll just overpay and steal CRAs from someone else. But you can only do so much of that. So what's the fine line? Like, I know everybody on job description said we need 2 years or more of experience, but are you guys really that picky? Or do you hire people with potential based on their background as opposed to their actual experience? Because you said earlier you don't care that much about the experience. It's important, but you're looking at the skill set. So,
Hmm.
like, what is the actual truth here? Like, is it because these job descriptions on job boards, I mean, they look pretty strict.
Yes.
Like, I've been in the industry 15 years. I won't qualify for most of these jobs the way they're written. But I guarantee you, if I go interview, I'll have a much better chance of success than if I were just reading and said, "Hey, I'm not going to apply." So what's the proper way that job seekers should go about these things? Because they're all intimidated by these things.
Yeah, and I understand. I have empathy for them. It's really hard for especially for entry level CRAs, right? Because they have a lot of um usually they get a lot of no's, right? A lot of
Hmm.
it can be really frustrating, but they have to keep trying. This is something that it's really tricky because there is a reason why the companies do that. They want more experienced CRAs and not entry level CRAs. I think in the end of the day, what they have to do is to just strike a good balance of senior CRAs and entry level CRAs so that they can keep developing and shaping those entry levels and what they really want in a CRA and and give the most seniors good mentoring opportunities for the others. So I think it has, in my personal opinion, they have to strike a good balance and look for this in their workforce. I know for a fact that sometimes when they're looking for experienced CRAs and they are offering those CRAs to the clients, they companies can be a little bit skeptical about offering, entry level CRAs because the clients may not be happy about it. That's why I think it's important that you can have, if you can have in a study, a senior CRA and entry level CRA, and then you can like have them collaborating with each other. You have a mentor, you have a co-monitor, you have a program just to keep developing. So I think that should be good enough, in my opinion. So I think that they shouldn't be discouraged about, continue to look for a job and see the opportunities that they have. If they have an interview, it's important that they can really they don't have experience as a CRA, but they should think about situations that they could be adding a lot of value to that company, that they can learn, that they can work as a team, that they can manage pressure. So I think it's important that you were, prepared for the interviews, just to, because interview you cannot give, but you can certainly, deliver other things. And
Right.
this is yeah, unfortunately, there is no black and white for this situation. We have to really, it's really looking at each individual, and if they are successful in getting their interviews, that they are really well prepared, and give something. If they cannot give experience, what can I give you? And
Yeah.
then I think this is how you have to approach recruiters and the job, the managers, the hiring manager. So
Yeah.
it's.
So let's pretend, okay, you're interviewing me. I'm entry level, but
Mhm.
I have some internship experience at a research clinic.
Mhm.
So like I'm interviewing, like what are some things you would ask me?
Okay. So you are, what sort of experience do you have? Let's see, in the clinical research environment, what are the tasks that you're doing?
So I would help the coordinator resolve action items from the follow-up letters of the
Okay.
CRAs, and then they would also have me file things in the regulatory binder.
Oh, okay. So you do have exposure to essential documents, to the investigator file. You have developed or established collaboration with the study coordinator. You are familiar with site processes, SOPs, GCP. So you kind of have, certain exposure. You learn something from that. So this is an experience that we truly value. What are the other interactions that you have established? How have you worked with CRAs? Have you resolved any queries? Have you, I don't know. So
Hmm.
I think this is, if you can, just provide that information of what you have done and how have you collaborated with them. What are the success stories that you have? What are the team achievements and what was the role that you played in that achievement? I don't know, maybe you had a database lock and then you were key to, I don't know, help contact the CRAs or, I don't know, address any questions. So I think this is probably not only the action per se, but, all the skills. Are you proactive? Are you know what I mean? So I think
Yes.
it's so much we can explore. And from that exposure, from that little experience, there is so much we can ask. And in situations that person has experienced at the site, then we can leverage that for the role that they are pursuing. So I think there is much we can do in an interview. We can be creative and explore. So
Thank you
that's
for
how I
that.
Yeah, that's how I dig into the candidates. If they're entry levels, I just wanted to know how they behave in certain situations. And
You see, guys, you hear it here from a line manager. So the way she did it, and this is what I tell all the interns: hey, you're gonna come, you're gonna intern from our CRA Academy. You're gonna intern this oncology study. When you're with Chris in San Bernardino, you're also gonna do a central nervous system disorder study. So you talk about those things, and then when you go back home, you're doing remote monitoring with us. They're actually helping us on this real study we
yes,
have. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's enough to get you an interview, and then when you go to the interview, I mean, look at the stuff Roberta was asking me, from just like two things I said, look at all those things that come from that. So you have to really dive deep and extrapolate. Okay, what did you do? Okay, you helped with a monitoring report. What does that mean? What were the issues during that monitoring report? What were the issues with the site? How did you help fix those issues? I mean, these are things they got to put yourself in your shoes, Roberta, and usually the candidate is so worried about themselves, they're not thinking about you and what
oh
you
yeah,
need, right? I mean, that's almost all the time, right?
yeah, yeah,
Almost all
that's
the
it.
time. So
Yeah.
how can they put themselves in your shoes, a candidate?
Well, they will certainly understand that we have deliverables, right? We have tasks that we have to deliver. We may have a huge workload, and I need to count on them. And I need them to bear with me. I need them to be as much proactive as they can be, and have that self-awareness and let me know what's going on. How can I help them? So I think that when they put themselves in my shoes, they will understand what my deliverables are, and then they will work with me. They will try to anticipate my needs, and they will work with me, and then they will follow through the plans. So
Hmm.
uh, I need to know when we are working with and when we are interviewing. I just want to make sure that I can count on that individual. When everything is okay, everything is okay, everything is going smoothly, no problems. But then when there is a situation of stress, when there is a situation that we have a major issue at a site or internally, I have a backlog, I need someone to work overtime. So will that person, can I count on you? So that's sort of, that's what I would expect. So I think it's important that we can that I can count on with people in that situation, because um, when everything when everything is okay, it's okay, right? Then
Yeah.
it's going on. It's still it's good. But I think there are situations, and as a manager, I can tell you, it's actually I'm here for the people to help them. I am of no use if there is not a problem. What
Right.
we have are problems, and I want to help them strive in that situation. I want to help them address that and be successful. So they have to, work with me and trust me, and have that commitment and that dedication. So I think if they understand what a manager needs, is then they will be extremely successful, and they will keep, expanding their knowledge, and then keep growing their careers. So I think this is it. It's partnership. It's they have to trust each other, and
Hmm.
so yeah, it's
Yeah, thank you for that because so many people are wanting to go interview and doing interviews right now, entry level, but even experienced. I had a message, and I want to get back to your story
hmm
next about how you went from CRA to line manager. But
hmm
so I got this message today from a senior CRA. She works for a small biotech,
hmm
and I made a post on LinkedIn about how I said earlier about how I think in June, July, August we're going to be so busy. Don't worry about your job right now. She messaged me, "Hey, I'm a senior CRA with 20 years of experience, and I'm worried about my job." And
hmm
I'm thinking to myself, how is this possible? Because I mean, who in their right mind would not hire you? Even now during coronavirus. I mean, if like worst case scenario, your employer, because it's a small biotech, has to lay you off, you can go maybe in a week get hired, right?
yes, yes,
So this is
yes.
unfounded fear on this person's part.
I think so. Yeah, maybe it's just the chaos outside, and that this is bringing some anxiety in some people. But I think for the CRAs, Yeah, it should be good. That's really some good opportunities, and I don't think that they should be concerned about it at this point.
I don't think so
Yeah.
either. So, okay, so you became a CRA like as soon as you joined this CRO, and
Yes.
then how long were you doing that? You obviously were hired entry level CRA. So, what was that process like? And then when did you know you want to be a line manager? Like, how did you decide this?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I started there as a CRA entry level, and then I had my studies and I was working on them. I was happy. And well, and just naturally, I started to get some assignments to mentor other people. And I really want, well, I really like teaching. Maybe this is something specific with me, but I really wanted to be. I like to be a mentor. I like to help my colleagues and be that go-to person for them. So that was something that I was really happy about. And well, that's how I was building my career. I was a CRA. I had my sites, I had my studies, but I was also helping other people. Not necessarily they were CRAs. They could be like project assistants. So everybody need of any help, any mentor, I would be there for them. And so I was working as a clinical CRA, and in my company they made like a organizational change, and then there was an opportunity for a startup CRA. So at some point I was no longer a clinical CRA. I had no more, I was not monitoring anymore, but I became a startup CRA, and I was doing PSVs, pre-study visits, and that was really awesome for me because there was an opportunity to be exposed as a lot of different indications. I had a
Yes.
lot of studies, and then I was going and go and do these on-site PSVs or remote PSVs. I was, presenting them and with for different PIs, different sites. So that was how I really expanded my clinical or my medical terminology knowledge, which I think it's with something that I support, and we have been discussing this today, right? And then after some time working as a startup CRA, and then there was an opportunity to become a line manager for that department. So I started manager, but I had a line management role. I was not managing studies, but I was managing the people in the department. So I was pretty much responsible for the operations in Brazil and Colombia, not only Brazil. As I said, I relocated to US in 2018, and so I was responsible for these two countries, providing oversight to the startup operations. And then after some time on that road, there was another organizational change. And then I was still working with startup, but we were observing some other components of the critical activation pathway. So I was, doing more things. And then I was just Brazil. And then, well, I've been on this role since 2011. Yeah, so I've been a CRA
Wow.
manager since 2011. Yeah. And yeah, so just, keep growing, keep learning new things. When you work with people, it's really interesting because we get to manage a lot of different personalities, and then you have to leverage those personalities and to the benefit of the company. And it's nice because you have specific assignments that that these are for specific people. So you kind of, get to know your team, and then you can,
Hmm.
you can just shape them and give the right assignment. So it's interesting when you have so many different personalities, and then you can work together, and the final product is just so wonderful. So yeah, this is what I've been doing for the past since 2011. Yeah, almost 10
9
years.
years,
Oh,
yeah,
9
10
years.
years.
Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
lost count. Yeah, it's just too much time.
Well, this year is like 2 years, so it's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and then when I moved into US and then I came, we worked for the same department, same role, but just working. But for now, it's just I just have CRAs, and it's been a great experience.
So, do you have like right now in your role, do you have any interaction with sites at all? Like
Just
during
the
a study?
minimum. Yeah, not much, really. I don't have much experience. Just in certain special occasions, I
Okay.
may have contact with them, but no.
What would you do, because but you're in charge of like mentoring your CRAs, right? And you're in charge of, I guess, disciplining. Is that even a thing? Like, do you discipline
Yeah.
them, or so discipline? So here's a situation that happens quite a bit, honestly. Much less recently. I gotta say, the industry. I don't know if we've been lucky, or the industry has made like a concerted effort to squash this kind of problem. But we used to have, especially when I started, like last decade. Okay, we
Hmm.
like one out of every five monitors was such a tyrant that come to the site. They would just want to pick fights with everybody, including the PI,
Oh,
and it would cause the study. The PI said, "You know what? You're out of this site. I'm not doing the study anymore." And they had patients to enroll in the study. This happened so many times that I've personally seen and I've heard from other people. And lately, last 5 years or so, again, I don't know if we're lucky or if I'm further removed from the site, but the monitors seem to be like friendlier. Uh, what would you do if you found out, let's say a site was complaining, or multiple sites, like the case with these CRAs that I'm thinking about, multiple sites complaining that this CRA is just causing problems, making my coordinator cry, which is
oh,
a reality of what happened. PI is upset, says he's not going to enroll any more patients in this study, and you can do a closeout visit.
yeah.
What would you do if somebody told you? I'm assuming project manager would tell you, hey,
Yes.
this is what happened. What would you do with this CRA?
Oh yeah, this is this is the part of the job that it's really hard when you have discipline, right, involved.
Right.
Yeah, so usually the line managers they will become aware of any issues with the series at the sites through their project managers. This is how because the sites will literally will call them and will complain,
That was
or
me.
they
I
will
called and
they'll call
complained.
yeah, or they will call the sponsors directly, and that's even worse,
Even
right?
worse. Even worse.
Yeah, so yeah, that happens, and I remember cases when I was still a CRA. I heard lots of stories about CRAs that didn't get along with their sites, and there were lots of fights.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I think this is a behavior problem, right? And I think we have to understand. Well, every story has two sides, right? So what I would do, I would have a meeting with the CRA. I would understand. Well, first, I would ask, how are you? Are you okay? Everything going fine? I mean, just make sure that the person is okay. Sometimes they have personal issues, and not necessarily I'll be asking that directly, but I have to understand. I need to understand that everything is fine with them because as a people manager, we have to care about people who are reporting to you. So this is important. Make sure they're okay. Second, let's talk about that situation with the site. Like, hey, I got this feedback from the site. They're telling this and that. So, can you tell me what's going on? What are the issues that you are facing? Okay, so if these are the issues, how are you approaching them to resolve? So sometimes the series can be really picky with things. Sometimes, as you said, sometimes they're just, sometimes they're right. They are, really, they have identified really major issues. But I think the secret is how are you approaching sites? Are you, as I said, that's why I think that experience you work with marketing and getting to learn customers, relations, that was really important because you have to be really good at influencing sites. You have to be successful in your relationships with them. I know that can be horrible. The sites are doing things that are really, that we disapprove, but you need to influence them. You need to be friends with them. You
Hmm.
have to be their favorite CRA. You have to be friends, not friends, but you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
need to really develop a good relationship with them and let them know that you are all on the same boat. The goals are the same. So for a CRA, so let's get back to our CRAs. So I need to understand exactly what's the issue, how the CRA is approaching them, and let the CRA speak. But because when they speak, and then you just hear, so I keep hearing, and then that's when I will be able to identify any approach that this is something that I would do differently. So we really would coach them in the process. Hey, so okay, this is a problem. Yes, this is a problem. I would do something different. I would approach the sites in a different way, and then as the person speaks, and then you can just help them through the process. You can provide really good piece of advice and give them another chance, of course, depending on the situation. In the worst case scenario, you really need to change the CRA. You have to have someone else going to the site,
Mm-hmm.
and this is not the goal. It's really to restore relationships if we can, and I think the line manager has a key role, in mentoring the person and letting him or her know what's the correct approach,
Yeah.
and then they will move from there. And then you need to keep working with the person, making sure that the site, notice the changes. So the outcomes can be really different.
Yeah.
But you also have to know your monitor, right? We need to know your CRA. As I said, they have so many different personalities. Sometimes there is an issue. In fact, there is an issue, and you have to address that.
Yeah.
Internally with some tools that line managers have just to address those specific behaviors, because we need to make sure that everybody that we have, they are really a good fit for the company, not
Right.
only, but that they are complying with the company's mission and values, things like that. So there's a lot of moving pieces then when it comes to people management. So you really need to treat in each individual. They are unique.
Of course.
I think that's
Do
how
you,
I do.
do you think, and thank you for that. And I think in the last 5 years, I can't remember, I think 5 years ago, 2015 was probably my last personal interaction with one of these monitors that was a problem. And it wasn't just me, it was like other sites I knew. And
Hmm.
of course, everyone complained. She got laid off, but of course she's a senior CRA, so in like a month or 2 weeks, she got another job. So it's
Yeah,
just the now it's someone else's problem.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
what do you think with risk-based monitoring, which you're actually hearing less about now, but maybe now with coronavirus, these things are going to come back. Remote monitoring, virtual trials, all these things. Like, do you think the role of a CRA is actually changing, and we need a different kind of skill set now?
Yeah, I mean, the future, right? I think we need to be prepared for that. I think maybe that will become a trend. I'm not sure if in the near future, but definitely I think that this whole coronavirus thing I think we'll be adjusting our approach after that in a lot of things, not only work, but, how in life in general. So, yes, I think that we will learn from that experience that we can do a lot more remote than we think.
Hmm.
So I think, yes, I think we should be prepared for that. I don't know. Maybe we have seen a lot of virtual visits, right? Actually, today you can, have a virtual consultation with any physician. I don't know if this is going to be happening in the future, telemedicine. I don't know. And remote monitoring. Maybe we do have a lot of companies. They do have like strong remote site monitoring processes. Maybe they will be expanding that. I don't know. It all depends and I think that they will think about it financially, right?
Yeah.
If that will be reducing costs for the conduction of clinical trials. And so what is truly important for having an on-site CRA? What are the essentials here? So yeah, maybe we can expect some change. I wouldn't be surprised if we change the approach in the future, but I think it's going to be not this year, maybe not next year, but yeah, I think this is something that we
It's
have to keep
it's
an eye
coming.
on.
It's definitely coming. I think there are advantages, many more, to having on-site monitoring visits.
Hmm.
And same thing with virtual patient visits for sites, right? I think certain assessments can be done virtually, but then it makes a difference for the patient to know the doctor, see the doctor, and maybe they can do it through Skype. I don't know. But as far as
Yeah.
monitoring is concerned, I think you get more site compliance when the monitor goes there. I know just
Yes.
from anecdotal experience with me. When it's a remote visit, the site says, "Oh, I can't scan you this thing now." Next visit, and then next visit, they get used to that habit, right? So it's going to be like a habit that needs to be broken. But the
Yeah.
only thing that's sure is that things will change, guys. That's the only thing that's for sure.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Maybe they will rethink the on-site tests, but I do believe this is important. I think we should continue with that. It's important that you go face to face to the sites. It's much easier, honestly, to do some tests when you're at site. So I don't. This is probably something that I would support. Please just keep the on-site series, but maybe we can just rethink their scope of work, what they're doing there, and see what else
Right.
the remote monitors can do. But yeah, if I can choose, I choose have on-site monitoring visits
Yes.
forever.
Of course, I think the way it works best is like combining the good of both parts. Like
Yeah,
still have the monitor go because the site tends to pay more attention when you're there. I mean,
yeah,
you're physically occupying space. They
yeah,
don't want you there again, so they're
yeah,
gonna want you out of there. So they'll do what you ask them. But then having someone like maybe in-house CRA doing like a remote visit beforehand and then giving the CRA a report
yeah.
and saying, hey, this is what I need you to do. This is what I did in my contract CRA, and it worked relatively well. The study got canceled, not because of coronavirus, but because
Hmm.
of the drug.
Hmm.
But maybe there's some elements there that the industry will pick up on. So very
Yeah,
interesting. Now, what can
yeah.
CRAs do as we wrap up? What can
Hmm.
CRAs do or people do? Like, are you personally a member of any organization? Do you do networking, or are you just okay, like with what you're currently doing? Are you going to SOCR, ACRP, any of that stuff?
Not yet. I mean, believe me, I'm still adapting to my a new country and the series. I'm learning so much in my current job. I mean, and coming from another country, it's a whole cultural adaptation
Yeah,
and develop that and understand that people, they are different. And when they're in a different country, I had to adjust my approach myself as a manager, because when you were manager in Latin America, the way you approach people and what you can do or you can or what you can say is totally different. So here it's still this is something that I have been learning a lot. It's amazing. I didn't thought that would be that way, but yeah, it's I am still in the process, and it's been very interesting, and I'm still learning. But yeah, I definitely in the future I'll be engaging in other sort of businesses, and really to continue to be more really engaged with what's going on in clinical research in US. So definitely this is something that I'll be that is definitely a goal for this year, not now,
hmm
but maybe in the quarter 3 or 4. I'll probably be exploring different activities and getting to know the people in the industry better. So this
like
is definitely something.
conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, because I used to do that in Brazil. I used to
Yeah.
participate and deliver presentations in, for some clinical research
Well, you're
events, things
lucky
like that.
because in San Diego, you have one of the big conferences every year. It's either Bio or DIA every year.
Yes,
They
yeah,
alternate.
yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they run that they have that in a lot of different countries. But yes, I mean, it's I'm just trying to establish myself, and I always believed to really have a good strong foundation when you're in something different. So it's just little by little, and that would be my advice for all the CRAs, and because I truly believe it. We have to go little by little with strong foundation, and then you keep growing, keep growing. Don't try to be fast. Don't try. Sometimes people, they have a lot of anxiety. They want to become senior CRAs, and I think it's important to have that foundation. And as a CRA, the more you can learn from that, the more you can stay in certain roles, more studies you have, more exposure to different situations at a site. Not the challenges with the protocol and indications, but situations that may come up,
Yeah.
and the way you handle like audits. You have an audit, FDA audit. So you learn so much from that. You work with a lot of people. You have all the, it's a stressful situation, but you keep learning, and that's a good experience. That's something that will, that will add a lot of value to your experience. So I truly believe it. So I think that would be my advice for the CRAs, just to go step by step, little by little, strong foundations, so that they, for sure they'll be successful for any situation in the future
Yeah.
as CRAs.
Now, as a line manager, and thank you. There's so many questions because I've never had a line manager on. So thank you, Roberta, for your time.
Sure.
As a line manager, are you in charge of your CRA workload too, like
Yes.
assigning work? Okay, so we get a lot of complaints from CRAs. I guess here's the thing. There's this group on Facebook called Clinical Research Memes.
I know this one.
Okay, I got kicked out of there because I kept putting my videos. I kept doing a watch party and putting my videos, and they didn't like it, so they just kicked me out.
Oh.
But I used to be in there just reading, right? But then I saw 60,000 people, so I started putting my videos. I'm like, why not? And then I guess they didn't like that. They kicked me out. But there, I read all these complaints from CRAs from different companies saying, hey, the way it is to be a CRA, you either get lucky or very unlucky with your line manager, and that's
Hmm.
just the way it is. So, you seem like a very good line manager. Like people
Thank you.
who you're managing are lucky ones. But I've heard, I mean, everyone can't be lying. There's there's line managers out there that probably don't care too much about their employees. So, what advice do you have for a CRA who's stuck in that position with like a bad line manager? I mean, that's like a tricky topic.
Yeah, it's a trick topic, and yeah, it's hard. As a line manager, I well, I always wanted to provide them a good experience because I know I have line managers on my own, right, in the past,
Hmm.
and I learned what when I became a line manager, and then I knew exactly the things that I wanted to do and the things that I would never do, right? So that's how I kind of, develop myself in the role. But it's really hard when you don't have a line manager that you cannot trust. But I think honest conversations is the way to go. People, they should feel supported by their managers. They should, and it's important. One thing that I have noticed, sometimes people, they complain to anybody else, but not to their managers. Sometimes the managers, they don't know what's going on. They don't know that that person isn't happy because they will never tell them. And that happens. I know that happens a lot. So they prefer to, that's the experience, and that's how. And that, I think, this is human nature. They will complain to their colleagues. They have their circles, right? And then they will vent a little bit. They will complain about workload, things like that. But they're never raising that concerns to their managers. That's the truth,
Hmm.
because they're afraid of losing their jobs, or maybe they do not trust the manager, and well, it can be a lot more complex than that. But I think they should be, it's always conversation. It's going to be a difficult conversation, but if they address them respectfully, everything is going to be okay. And if it doesn't happen, I'm sure, well, they will need to seek for other resources and other supports in their companies. Yeah, that's what I can say.
I think fear. So I have advice for any CRA in this situation, for anybody in general. Okay, there's this really good book. It's like I've read it this year before coronavirus. Since coronavirus, I stopped listening to it because we've just been obsessed with the virus. But this book, I just about finished it. Okay, it's called Never Split the Difference.
Hmm.
It's about negotiating. This guy used to be a hostage negotiator, and he talks about dealing with difficult, managers and things like that. So, it's a good book for everybody in general. It teaches empathy. I did a video on it previously for YouTube. So I think these things that we talk about that people think, yeah, right, Roberta and Dan, like having empathy, you're just saying that because it sounds nice, but it doesn't do anything. But
Yeah.
in reality, it does because it's the framework that you work in. So if you create, like, if you learn these kind of tactics, these tools, empathy, persuasion,
Yeah.
influence, all these things, it's going to help you. Whether you're a line manager and you need to convince other people, whether you're a CRA, you need to talk to your managers, whether you're a CRA needing to talk to your sites, I mean, sites are less compliant than anyone else sometimes with CRAs. I know because I do both. I know what it's like. So, gotta learn how to have the soft skills, and I think the CROs are doing a better job of that. At least in the last 5 years, I've noticed CRAs have been more like with the soft skills, I think.
Yeah, that's what I believe. Yeah, and managing conflict, never easy. But
No.
series, they have to speak up. Yes. So,
And all those CRAs that are scared, all those CRAs that are afraid of their line manager, maybe it's because I'm so removed. Like
Mhm.
I've experimented with so many things. This makes sense to me, but if someone's just been at one job their whole career, maybe they're afraid. But if you're a CRA with 5 years of experience at a major CRO, I mean, you don't have anything to worry about. Just like this lady who messaged me on LinkedIn. Like, you really don't. You're a hostage to your own fear because who wouldn't want you? So if you're really in that kind of a situation,
Yeah.
ultimately your last resort is to go somewhere else, which is
Yes.
unfortunate. But retention is a huge thing in CRO,
Yes.
as I'm sure you know. Like you probably have metrics on how many CRAs you guys retain and how many leave,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Turnover is a major metric. Yes.
Huge issue. So if you can resolve that, we need more line managers like Roberta. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Dan. Thank
Anything
you.
else you want to say? We're gonna have the link to Roberta's LinkedIn underneath. Anything else you want to add, Roberta, that we didn't talk about or
Oh,
no?
yeah, actually, just wanted to thank you for the opportunity. I think it was nice to share a little bit about my experience. I hope that can help others as they are doing their, job search. And yeah, I
You
mean,
have
it's
no
just,
idea. You have no idea.
yeah, yeah. So they shouldn't be discouraged by any no's that they were gonna get. So just keep, developing their skills, doing their best interviews, just be themselves. Do not fake someone that you are not, and that the right job will appear. So it's they have to believe it, and then yeah, and they will be successful. So there is opportunity for everybody. So just keep trying, and
Keep doing it.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's important that they sometimes they would not be able to start as a CRA, but it's important to get the foot in the door and start, doing something, something else, join another role. So I think this is something that would probably be best for them. So I
Speed
wish
and
everybody good
volume.
luck. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Speed and volume. The CRA Academy is going to help too, or
Yeah.
anything. I mean, do self training. Your husband took CRA Academy.
Yeah.
His employer loved that he did
Yeah.
that, so I did a video with him. Hey, talk about this.
Yeah.
I mean, that was good. So things like that doesn't have to be my academy. Go do another academy, but we have a good one. We actually care about what we're doing, and so we want to prepare you guys. But as you heard from Roberta, don't give up. It's gonna be mostly no's. Okay, you get used to it. I have people tell me all the time, "Hey Dan, I'm gonna give up. I applied to 3 jobs and they all said no, so I'm done." I said, you need to apply to 300 jobs. If all 300 say no, then you have a problem, but that's very unlikely. Somebody's going to give you a chance. So stay positive. Thank you very
Yes.
much, Roberta. I really
Thank
appreciate it. We'll
you.
have the links underneath. You have no idea how many people are going to reach out to you, but they will. And then we'll be in touch because I'm your neighbor up in the north. So I'm in
Yes.
Orange County. So next time I'm in San Diego, once this coronavirus stuff settles down, we'll do some
Yeah.
networking.
Definitely. Yeah. Let's meet face to face. Yeah. I'll be glad to.
Absolutely. And thank you, Guru Nation, for watching and listening, and we will catch you all later. Bye bye.